I wanted to build a folding bench out of plywood. If you want to see how I built it, keep watching this video. So the first thing I did is take a plywood board and cut it into strips. Cut it into strips because I want the platform of the bench to be 1.25 inches thick, and the plywood's only 3/4 thick. So I'm going to turn the strips sideways, and then I can make the board thicker by laminating these strips. So I'm gluing these boards up in sections to make them a little bit more manageable. And here I'm scraping up some of the dry glue that is on the side of the boards before I do the final glue. And here's where I remembered that my planer is a 12-inch planer and my board's a 12-inch, so that's not going to work. So I had to trim off a little bit off my board. Note to self, get a 13-inch planer sometime. So I'm using the CNC to cut the slots in this board, and you're going to see that I use the CNC to create a lot of the parts that I'm using in this project, because some of them are duplicated so many times it just made sense to just produce them in volume. So here the CNC is cutting out the legs for the bench. There's going to be 10 of these. So here's some more small parts that the CNC is cutting out. The guard is down, so that's why it's not as easy to see the work that the CNC is doing. I had to open up the holes on these brackets a little bit because they were a little undersized. And here I'm using a piece of sandpaper wrapped around a dowel to open them up a little bit more. Alright, we finally got all the parts ready and it's time to assemble. And you can see some of those parts that are brown. Those are actually spacers that I made out of hardboard, and I need those to get everything to line up just right. After I unclamped this assembly, I really wanted to make sure that dowel was not glued up, so that was the first thing I did, is check that it's still rotated. I did wax it before I glued it up. You can see I've got an angle tool here to make sure I've got the legs at the right angle before I mount them onto the base. Yeah, did you hear that cracking noise? Yeah, I found out that plywood is not the best material to make those brackets out of. But no worries. I went back and made some new ones out of hardwood. Much better. And it looks like the assembly is working as intended. That's always reassuring at this point. And now I'm just adding a stabilizer for the legs, and this project is done. And finally I get to realize the fruits of my labor. Thanks for watching my video.